Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel and to another walking tour. Impressively, there are more than 100 ruined churches in the area of Norfolk, but we wanted specifically to scout out the mysterious ruins of St James Church, or Bawsey ruins as they are known. The remains of St James is such an impressive sight, very much so for what it once was, and the atmosphere is special and eerie to anybody who greets it. So join us for a wander around Bawsey ruins. The remnants of the church are all that is left from a once thriving and incredible village that had been abandoned from long ago. Interestingly, we take ourselves back 1,000 years to when the ruins were known as Norfolk's equivalent of St Michael's Mount. This is pretty funny as it's hardly a hill, but in Norfolk the land is extremely flat and iconically level. In the Domesday Book of 1086, the settlement on the hill was probably that called Bawsey, which translates into Old English place name meaning Gadfly Island. This was because in the Saxon times it would have been accessed via a causeway, standing on a piece of high ground, surrounded by water on a headland on the estuary of the Gayward River. It was once part of a thriving fishing village at the time when King's Lynn would have been in the sea. As the waters retreated, the village fell into decline, and it was reported that it was helped by a landlord who decided to demolish tenants' homes to make way for the more profitable sheep and farmlands. It was by the 16th century that the ruined church of St James at Bawsey was all that remained of the village, and now all that we can discover today. There was thought to be a Viking settlement, and long before that, an Iron Age one on that little hill. An Anglo-Saxon grave marker is sitting in King's Lynn's museum that helps identify the area of the site, and on the next small hill across from there, on the other side of the main road, is an early Bronze Age occupation site, and burials were thought to be in use for hundreds of years. Something completely incredible about the site is that it was featured on Time Team Live, and they managed to dig up the remains of a female with a traumatic injury that they believe was from the Viking era. They detail that it would have been in the 7th and 8th period when Viking attacks on eastern England were increasingly common. It was known very much so that the monastic sites were the ones to be targeted, as it was normally at this time in the period of raiding that the raiders would have been after loot, which marries up with some of the archaeological items that were found here, including many gold coins and other valuables that would have meant something to the Vikings, which they would have probably been looking for. During the programme, a skeleton of a female was discovered, with analysts learning that she suffered a brutal slaughter. By the burial evidence of 3 sword cuts to the skull, there are theories that this may have been a nun whilst around the area of Bawsey ruins. But in a weird turn of events, her demise was more than likely to have been a surgical operation that failed. The detached bone was not from a sword wound, but it was actually an attempt to save the woman's life by a surgical procedure 1300 years ago. It's mind-blowing that we were able to unearth and discover the mysteries below the soil. It's so incredible that this is what we can see in front of us, a derelict, small, abandoned, roofless ruins that actually has thousands of years of history attached to it. Other incredible finds that were found on the programme are that of 15th century tiled floor, various Thetford pottery, a Bronze Age axe, Iron Age gold, Roman coins and prehistoric flint, showing us the importance of this site and that the ruins were actually an ancient site with an incredible history and a number of many different people who worked, fought and lived in the village. The structure itself is Norman, and now it is pretty degraded with large cracks in the tower and the corner joints shifting out. It still orders some respect though, sitting as it does on a rise in the land and is visible for miles. The surviving sections of the tower and the nave date from the 11th and 12th centuries, whilst the remaining part of the chancel is around the 14th and 15th century. It's built from local carstone, flint and limestone, and was constructed in the Romanesque style. The church was dedicated to St James and fell into ruin as far back as 1745. When the village was deserted and Bawsey was all that was left, the church was still being used for baptisms and burials right up until the 1770s, and as you wander around the stone elements, you can see some heavily eroded graffiti that dates to 1840. One of my favourite parts of the church is being able to see the tracery around the doors and the windows. It gives a small glimpse into what the place may have looked like all them years ago. The zigzag pattern over the tower arches indicate that this was from the Norman period. To get to the ruins, you're able to park up next to the local farm, where you'll get a shot of the ruins in your sight, and walk up the potholed rocky road for about 5 minutes till you reach the gates for the site. It's worth the visit, especially if you're in the King's Lynn area. This hidden gem has a fantastic feeling to it, and it's got a great long-standing history worth your troubles. I really enjoyed visiting here. When you're able to walk around the place, you can feel the history and the different people that would have used this church and the site. So if you've enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit that thumbs up, click the notification bell so you don't miss any more of our videos, and consider supporting the channel using our Patreon or subscribing to the channel. We want to say a big thank you to our Patreons and a thank you to everyone for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Till next time.